My name is Ivy, and I learned very early in life that some people are born to be adored, while others are simply expected to endure. In our family, that golden spotlight belonged to my cousin Sienna. Sienna wasn't my sister by blood, but the way our lives were intertwined, you'd think we shared everything except affection. She was the daughter of my mother's twin sister, and after her parents passed in a tragic car accident, she moved in with us permanently when we were both 9. That should have brought us closer. In some families, maybe it would have, but not in mine. From the moment she arrived, everything shifted. Suddenly, my toys were hers. My clothes, my bedroom space, my parents' attention all became shared territory. But what hurt most wasn't what I lost materially, it was what I stopped receiving: acknowledgement, praise, love. My mother, Claire, used to brush my hair and sing to me before bed. But when Sienna moved in, those lullabies turned into whispers through the wall, meant for someone else. "She's been through so much," my mom would say, whenever I asked why Sienna got another gift, or another pass, or another excuse. But trauma shouldn't give someone permission to steal your entire existence. And yet, that's exactly what happened. Sienna didn't ask to be treated like royalty, at least not at first. But she learned fast how to play the role. If she wanted something, all she had to do was pout, cry, or feign fragility. My parents, especially my mom, would leap to her defense like she was made of porcelain. Meanwhile, I was expected to be the strong one, the quiet one, the one who didn't complain when her birthday was forgotten, or when her name was misspelled on the Christmas cards. Yes, misspelled. In my own house. My dad, Leonard, was more balanced. He tried, in his quiet way, to remind me I mattered. But even he was swept away by Sienna's magic. The way she wrapped adults around her finger like velvet ribbon. The way she could manipulate a room without ever raising her voice. By the time we turned 16, it was painfully clear I wasn't just in Sienna's shadow. I was her shadow. She was a star student, a social butterfly, the girl who could walk into a room and have everyone looking. And me? I was the girl who was always there, invisible until needed. There was one moment, just one, that truly broke me. Our school had this tradition where parents could write a letter to be read aloud during the junior awards ceremony. I'd worked hard all year, tutoring, helping in the library, volunteering at the animal shelter. I even got nominated for a leadership award. When my name was called, I stood on stage shaking, proud, until the teacher opened the envelope and read a letter addressed to Sienna. My mother had written a heartfelt letter about how proud she was, how far her girl had come, how strong and radiant and beautiful she'd always been. They'd simply handed it to the wrong person. Everyone laughed awkwardly. The teacher apologized. I smiled like it didn't hurt. But inside, something shattered. That was the moment I knew. I could win every award, ace every class, be the perfect daughter, and I'd still never be her. College was my escape plan. I applied to every out-of-state university I could afford, not because I wanted distance from my family, but because I needed it. I craved oxygen. Space to exist where no one knew me as the afterthought to Sienna's glow. I landed a scholarship to a competitive university 3 states away. Psychology major. Honors program. A fresh start. When I told my parents, my father clapped. My mother blinked. "Oh, honey," she said slowly, "but Sienna's going to community college here. Wouldn't you want to be close to her? So she's not alone." That moment hit me harder than I expected. I had worked for years for this, to break out, to build something of my own, and all my mother could think about was Sienna. "Sienna isn't alone, Mom. She has you. She always has." The words slipped out before I could filter them. There was silence. Then she sighed, like I was being unreasonable again. Like wanting independence was selfish. But I went anyway. And for the first time in years, I began to feel like a person. At school, people saw me. I made friends, joined clubs, fell in love with forensic psychology and long nighttime walks under the city lights. I even met someone, Ethan. Kind eyes, quick wit, and he actually listened when I spoke. We dated for a while. It was the first relationship where I didn't feel invisible. I didn't come home much that first year. When I did, it felt strange. Sienna had taken over my room. My posters were gone. My books were boxed up in the attic. My mother acted like nothing had changed, like I had simply relocated from one dorm to another. But something had changed. I was no longer the quiet, apologetic background character. I had thoughts, plans, ambitions. And that made people uncomfortable, especially my mother. Every time I mentioned a new internship or a research project I was proud of, she'd respond with something like, "That's nice, dear. Did you hear Sienna was nominated for a local arts award?" No matter what I did, Sienna's shadow followed. Only now, I was no longer content living inside it. Then, during my senior year, the letter arrived. It was from my grandmother, my dad's mother, who had always been a quiet supporter, even when my parents weren't. She'd passed away the year before, and I didn't expect anything more than a sweet memory in her will. But the letter changed everything. She had left me an inheritance. Not just money, though there was enough to pay off my student loans and start a private practice. She left me her house, a small, two-bedroom cottage in her hometown, fully paid off. "To give you a place that is entirely your own," she wrote. I wept reading it, not because of the money, but because for once, someone had seen me, had chosen me. I called my parents that night to tell them, and that's when the war began. I expected some surprise when I told my parents about Grandma's inheritance, maybe even a hint of awkward joy. Instead, I was met with silence. Not the thoughtful kind, the kind that comes right before someone says something that changes everything. "She left you the house," my mother finally said, "and enough money to finish school without debt," I added, holding my breath. "She said she wanted me to have something of my own." There was a long pause. Then my mother replied, voice sharp and measured, "Well, I think you should give it to Sienna." I thought I misheard. "What?" "It would help her so much," she continued, as if this were perfectly logical. "You know her boutique isn't doing well. She could turn the cottage into a little business. It's a better fit for her." My heart sank. I had waited my entire life for something to be mine, for recognition, for a win that didn't have Sienna's name on it. And now they were asking me to give it away for her. "You're not serious," I said. "You've always been so strong," my mother replied. "You'll find your way. Sienna just needs this more right now." There it was again. That word. Strong. The compliment they used as a weapon. The excuse to abandon me because they believed I'd survive no matter what. But I was tired of surviving. "No," I said firmly. "Grandma left it to me. For me. And I'm keeping it." Her tone turned cold. "I'm disappointed. You're acting out of spite." "No. I'm finally acting for myself." I ended the call before she could guilt me further. I thought that would be the end of it, but I underestimated how far they were willing to go. A few days later, I received a notification from a real estate site. My grandmother's house, my house, was listed for sale, under Sienna's name. I stared at the screen, my whole body numb. This wasn't miscommunication. This was theft. And I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a glitch. Maybe a realtor somewhere had gotten the address wrong. But the photo on the real estate listing was unmistakable. The little blue shutters, the climbing ivy, the front porch swing my grandmother used to sit on. And underneath it, bold as daylight, owner, Sienna Whitmore. I stared at the listing like it would explain itself. Like it would somehow confess that it was all a prank, a joke, a cruel coincidence. But it didn't. Instead, it confirmed the one thing I had been denying for years. My family didn't just favor Sienna. They would lie, steal, and rewrite reality to keep her on top. I called the listing agent. "Hi, I'm Ivy Donovan. I believe there's been a mistake regarding this property. I'm the legal owner of that house." There was a pause, then rustling papers. That's odd. The documents I have here are signed by Sienna Whitmore. Fake documents. I hung up and called my lawyer. Yes, I had one, not because I expected drama, but because my grandmother's will had been thorough, and I wasn't naive about how money changes people. We met the next day, and when he reviewed the digital signature submitted for the property transfer, he shook his head. "This isn't your signature, Ivy. It's forged." I sat in stunned silence. Sienna had actually faked my signature, or convinced someone else to. And worse, my parents must have helped. There's no way she had access to the deed without their involvement. This wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated theft. I confronted them that night. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. "I know what you did. You tried to sell the house. You forged my name. That's a felony." My father looked stunned. But my mother? She didn't blink. "You're being hysterical. It was just a misunderstanding. You weren't even using the property yet, and Sienna needed." "Stop," I snapped. "Just stop." I had never spoken to my mother like that before. But I wasn't the girl who kept quiet anymore. "You tried to erase me, but I'm not going anywhere." I left before they could respond. By the end of that week, my lawyer filed a formal report. The sale was blocked. An investigation was opened. Sienna stopped answering my texts. And for once, the silence was comforting because it was mine. But I knew this wasn't over. My family didn't lose gracefully. I thought stopping the sale would be the climax. I thought proving they forged my name would shut them down. But my family didn't retaliate with lawsuits or legal maneuvers. No, they chose something crueler. They went after my character. It started small. An old friend from back home messaged me, asking if everything was okay. Your mom posted something weird about you needing time away for mental health? I checked Facebook, and there it was. A long, carefully worded post from my mother, painting herself as the worried parent of a deeply struggling daughter. She spoke about emotional distance, bitterness, and how she hoped I'd someday find peace. She never mentioned the house. She didn't have to. The implication was clear. I was unstable, delusional, acting out. Then came the messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Just give Sienna the house. You're doing fine, right? Family is more important than property, Ivy. They didn't know the truth, because no one had told them. And I was tired of defending myself behind closed doors. So I went public. I posted screenshots of the deed, of the listing with Sienna's name, of the letter from my grandmother addressed to me. I shared everything. I didn't write a sob story. I didn't beg for pity. I wrote the facts. Clear. Unfiltered. And people paid attention. I wasn't trying to go viral. But my post did. Friends from school shared it. Even a local community page picked it up. Suddenly, strangers were commenting with support, calling out the manipulation. And Sienna? She deleted all her socials. My mother called the next day, her voice cold with fury. You humiliated this family. No, I replied. You did that yourselves. I just stopped covering for you. That night, I sat alone in my tiny college apartment, staring at the ceiling. They tried to silence me with shame, but they'd underestimated how loud I could be when I finally stopped caring what they thought. A week passed in silence. No new posts. No passive-aggressive texts. No surprise voicemails from extended family. It felt unsettling. And then, out of nowhere, Sienna messaged me directly. Hey, can we meet in person? Just us. I think we should talk. I stared at the screen. No apology. No explanation. Just, we should talk. Part of me didn't want to go. I didn't trust her, hadn't for years. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. We met at a small cafe near campus. Neutral ground. She showed up in soft colors and that perfectly pitiful expression she always wore when she wanted forgiveness without earning it. She ordered tea. I didn't order anything. Look, she began. I never meant to hurt you. Mom said you didn't really care about the house. She said you'd probably just sell it and forget about it anyway. I said nothing. I wanted her to keep talking. And yeah, I signed some papers. I know that wasn't okay, but I panicked. My boutique is dying, Ivy. I was drowning. She looked at me with glassy eyes, the picture of polished vulnerability. You've always had direction. Drive. You don't understand what it's like to feel like a failure. I nearly choked. Are you actually trying to make me feel guilty for not being you? She flinched. No. I thought maybe we could split it? The house. Turn it into a business together? Like a sister project? Rebuild our bond. I laughed, loud enough to make a few heads turn. We're not sisters, Sienna. We never were. You were a guest in my home who became its queen. And now you're here asking me to co-own the only thing that proves I ever existed in that family. She looked stunned. Not because she didn't know what she did, but because for the first time, I wasn't swallowing it. You forged my name, I said quietly. You stole from me. And then your mother, our mother, apparently tried to ruin my name when I fought back. That isn't family. That's war. Sienna's expression cracked for the first time. The pout dropped. The soft voice turned cold. You're going to regret this. You don't understand how hard you've made things. I stood up. Good. Maybe for once, you'll know what it's like to lose something you thought you owned. And then I walked away. Not just from that cafe, but from the last thread of guilt tying me to a girl who never once looked back at the damage she caused. After that meeting, there was no more pretending. The masks were off. Sienna stopped playing the victim. My mother stopped calling altogether. And my father, well, he stayed silent, which somehow hurt even more. But I didn't crumble. Instead, I focused on what I could control. With my lawyer's help, I pressed formal charges. Forgery. Attempted fraud. Illegal property listing. Everything was documented, and the law was finally on my side. A court date was set. Sienna's attorney tried to negotiate a quiet settlement. She's willing to withdraw her claim, apologize, and pay a small restitution if you agree to drop the charges. I said no. I didn't want money. I wanted a record. I wanted consequences. I wanted her to feel what it was like to be dragged into the light, to be stripped of the benefit of the doubt she'd always been handed. But that choice came with a price. I became a pariah in my own family. A cousin blocked me. An aunt sent a message saying, "Blood doesn't matter to you, I guess." People I barely knew were taking sides, and not because they understood what happened, but because they were more comfortable with the old narrative. Ivy, the difficult one. Ivy, the cold one. I grieved that version of me, but I didn't regret letting her die. The day of the hearing, I stood in front of the judge, documents in hand, and told my story. Calm, clear, no dramatics, just truth. Sienna looked pale. She couldn't even meet my eyes. Her lawyer tried to paint it as a miscommunication. Mine pointed out the forged signature. The judge didn't need long. Verdict, in my favor. Full legal ownership reinstated. Sienna fined. Community service assigned. Case closed. When we left the courtroom, I didn't say a word. Neither did she. But I saw the moment it hit her, that I wasn't someone she could twist anymore. That I'd become someone who didn't flinch, didn't beg, didn't break. And in that moment, I felt something unfamiliar. Not revenge. Freedom. A month after the hearing, I packed my bags and drove out to the cottage. The one my grandmother left me. The one they tried to steal. The one that still smelled faintly of lavender and old books, like she was watching, proud and quiet, from somewhere I couldn't see. It was mine now, not just legally, but spiritually. I repainted the walls, tore out the rotting porch steps, and built new ones with my own hands. I planted sunflowers out front. I opened the windows wide and let the past blow out with the dust. There were moments I cried. Moments I laughed at nothing. Moments I stood in the middle of the kitchen and whispered, "I'm still here." I kept my distance from my family. I didn't send updates. I didn't respond to veiled apologies or guilt-laced letters from my mother. She sent two after the ruling. Both handwritten. Both filled with half remorse and full denial. We only wanted what was best. No, they wanted control. But I wasn't theirs anymore. I started my own practice, remote therapy for young women estranged from toxic families. I built something from the ashes they left behind. And every time I felt the urge to doubt myself, I remembered that courtroom. That silence in the cafe. That twisted look on Sienna's face when she realized her power over me was gone. I didn't win to humiliate her. I didn't win to punish my mother. I won to reclaim myself. And if I've learned anything, it's this. Sometimes, family won't see your worth until you're standing outside the fire, refusing to be burned again. Sometimes, the only way to be free is to walk away and never look back. And I haven't. Not once.